Hi friends, in today's video we are going to discuss what are the factors that you should consider while you are taking a decision to move to the UK. I have myself moved to the UK 9 or 10 months back, and I did consider many of these factors, and I learned about some new things which I have incorporated in this video. So let's start. So the first and foremost is what is your goal when you are planning to move to the UK as a doctor? And the main thing here is whether you are a undergraduate student or a postgraduate doctor, and whether you want to enter the training. In that case, you are clear that you want to enter training, become postgraduate, and then become a consultant eventually. So in that case, you should look for the training post. If you are already a postgraduate, you will get somewhere in the entry in the somewhere in the middle of the training, and you will have to finish it, and then you will become a consultant. If your goal is to just improve your skills, then you should be looking for fellowships, and these fellowships, many of the big trusts have international fellowships which could be useful for you. If you're looking for better work-life balance, for example, you don't want to work over the weekends, or you have to work for only specific hours in a week, or to have a better balance between work and your personal life, then also probably that is a good idea to move to the UK. So that is also there. Now, if you want to enter training, or if you want to enter any fellowship, what things I feel are different here is that they expect you to have have some leadership experience, have some clinical audit experience, quality improvement projects, and have some publications. And back in India, as per my experience, these things are not given much importance, and sometimes they are not considered very useful also. If you want to work in UK, probably these things are more important. And if you are planning for that, then probably you should start building up your CV with these things at least 3 to 5 months in advance, so that when you apply, your CV looks good and there are better chances of getting accepted. They don't just look at your clinical skills, and it is really difficult to showcase your clinical skills through your CV. You can tell anything, but they are not going to ask you to do certain procedures, or ask you certain medical questions before they select you. So apart from clinical skills, the other aspects, the administrative managerial aspect, quality improvement aspects, publications and research, these things are very important. Now, if you want to enter fellowship, you should look at the tertiary care centers. These are the trusts which are like our tertiary care multi-specialty hospitals, but they do have international fellowships. It is difficult to enter training for an international doctor into these hospitals, but they since they have international fellowships, there is better opportunity to enter as a fellow. So that's what you should be looking for. If you want to enter for training, probably district general hospitals are a good bet. They are tertiary care hospitals in certain sense, but they do not have all the super specialty facilities available round the clock, and they refer the patients for certain tertiary care support to the higher centers. So these hospitals, district general hospitals, can give you opportunity as a trust grade doctor. They can give you opportunity as a fellow, and even as a consultant. So that is a good point to start. So these are the few things to consider regarding your goal and what preparation you should have. The second important thing to be clear about when you are applying is for what duration of period are you planning to stay in the UK. This period could be just 1 year, it could be 3 to 5 year, or it could be even longer, or you may be looking for a permanent work opportunity here. So that's fine, and even whatever your initial goal would be, it can change over the time, so that is also fine. But if you have a clear goal, probably it will matter in the way you live here, in the way you spend your time, in the way you spend your money. Everything will be related to that. So please have a clear goal. For example, if you are planning to stay for long term, you need to know that if you stay here on a continuous work visa for 5 years or longer, you are eligible to apply for ILR, that is indefinite leave to remain. That is like a permanent visa. So that is something to know. Other thing is, if you are planning to stay for longer time, you might want to look for buying a house or flat for yourself and save money for the rent, because eventually since the interest rates are very low, it makes more sense to buy your own house or flat instead of paying rent. But that aspect will come if you are planning to stay for a longer time. If you are planning to stay short duration, 1 or 2 years, then you would not go into all this. So that is important. Third important question is, what about your spouse? So if your spouse also has good opportunities here in the UK, whether he or she needs to undergo English test to be able to apply, whether he or she needs to verify their foreign or Indian qualifications through ECFMG, and whether they need to give any extra exam. They may be from medical or non-medical field, so you need to find out what are the opportunities for these fields and what are the job opportunities for your spouse. So that is also something very important to find out. Fourth and important point is, what happens to your children. So just to let you know, just to give you idea, if your children are less than 3 years of age, then generally in India they don't go to school, they go to nurseries or preschool. And here if you send your children to nurseries, you have to pay the fees yourself. It is not free. So just bear that in mind. The cost is around £1,500 a month. So if that is important for you, you should be aware about that. The children between 3 to 4 years, they are given free preschool duration of 15 hours every week. And if you want to keep them longer in the school, you may have to pay the extra amount above 15 hours. So that is also something to be aware. And for children more than 4 years of age, the government here provides free public schooling for all those children. There are also private schools. The fees is quite high, and if you are looking for a private school, you should look for that. But being in India, you should find out and start working about the schooling of your children, if that is applicable to you. Now if you want to get admitted into a public school, you need to know that generally the admission is given based on the distance from your home to the school, and generally you have to apply 1 year in advance to get admission. And when you apply, you need to be staying in that area for at least 6 months, or at least 1 year, depending on various areas and various schools. But so basically you need to be staying in that area for at least 1.5 2 years to be eligible to apply for any particular school which you like. So generally people buy or rent houses nearby those areas. The rents and the house prices are higher for such areas where there are good schools in the vicinity. And if schooling is important for you, you need to find this out and consider these things before accepting any rental house or buying any property. How do you know, being an outsider, how do you know whether any particular school is good or bad? You need to know about the Ofsted rating of the school. Ofsted ratings are published frequently, and they can be outstanding, good, average, or they can be below average. So you should look for at least good or outstanding schools and try and rent or buy house in the nearby vicinity if you are planning for public school. Now the fifth important thing is, what happens to your parents. So just for you to know, the parents don't automatically get migrated into the UK, and it is extremely difficult to get them migrated along with you, because the laws are very particular. So practically you cannot bring your parents for long term. However, every year you can get up to 6 months of visa, and they can visit you for up to 6 months every year. But just remember that they even if you become citizens, or you have indefinite leave to remain, your parents would not get to spend all the time with you. So that is something which is a big factor for many people, and you should be aware of that. Also, whether your parents back in India would need any social or medical help or support, and whether you will be able to arrange or provide this support, that is also something which is very important, and you should seriously consider that. The sixth important point is savings. So obviously you want to earn more and save more when you are moving to a new country. So that is something which is very important, and I would like to share some important fact with you. So for example, when I moved to the UK, the conversion rate of one GBP to Indian rupees was around 103 or something. Presently it is around 95 rupees for one GBP. And so whatever amount I'm earning, I would just multiply it by say 95 for the current rate, and I would get a number, and I would be happy that okay, I'm earning this much. In India I was earning this much, and this is looking much better. However, it is not the exact exchange rate of pound to rupee. It is the purchasing power parity, which is something that is applicable here. So the purchasing power parity for various currencies, they are given against the dollar, and basically what it means in simple language is how much currency of any particular country you need to spend to buy certain items. It is released every year, and it is available on the World Bank website, and it is also available on OSED library. So you should I will try and share the screenshots here. So basically every year it is updated. The latest purchasing power exchange ratios, parity exchange ratios are published from 2021. And according to these ratios, the for one US dollar, the equivalent Indian rupees is around 23. For one US dollars, equivalent Great Britain pound or GBP is around zero point 0.7. So if you run some math, you will find out that for one GBP, you can say the exchange ratio in terms of purchasing power parity is around 33 rupees and not 95 rupees. So whatever amount of salary you are getting, just multiply it by 33 instead of 95, and whatever number you get, that number is actually your equivalent salary in India. And if that salary is more, that's very good. If that salary is less, then you need to think whether it's a good deal, looking at all the other things, other factors that I have discussed with you. Whether what's your goal, what's your goal in your career, what's your target of stay in the UK, whether your spouse will get any opportunities, whether your children will get good opportunities. So if all those things are meeting, then you can still consider letting go some amount of money. But if that is not being fulfilled, then probably it is a good idea to give it a serious thought whether you would be happy with certain amount of money. So just keep that in mind. So these are the six factors which I feel are useful before you make a plan to move to the UK, and try and figure them out and be ready mentally. Now we will discuss what are the advantages and disadvantages of moving to the UK. And so generally, I would say the biggest advantage for me was a good work-life balance. You can spend more time at home. You don't have to do nights. As a consultant, I don't need to do on-site nights. I am on call, and it depends whether I have to go or not. I get some calls also in the night, but it is much better and less stressful than back in India. So that is something which is important for me. Another advantage is the language of communication is English, which is the language widely taught in India. We have qualified and got our degrees in English, so it is comparatively easier to get adjusted here, and you don't have to learn a new language. The another thing is the healthcare services are free. So NHS is providing free healthcare services to all the citizens, which is a good thing. And for emergency, especially for emergency treatment, it's a good service. I would say it is like service of civil hospitals in India, but the level of care, the quality, and the expertise is much better compared to what I have experienced in India. However, if you are looking for an OPD appointment or looking for plant surgeries, you might do some search, and you will realize that there is a long waiting list for these things. So for elective surgeries and elective plant surgeries and outpatient visits, it takes longer time. It is frustrating many times. But for emergencies, they provide good support, which is a good thing. Also free education. So most of the people opt for public education and public schools, and that is free of cost. So that is something, if you are considering that, that is also a good thing. uh, if you want to buy a house, if you want to stay here for long term, generally it is easier to buy a house compared to India. You can save the money for your down payment in 2 to 3 years and take a loan from a bank. The rate of interest are very low, and you can eventually pay the same amount or little more than your rent, and after 20 years or something, the house is yours, or you can save more and prepay your loan. So buying a house is comparatively easier, and so many people do that, and I have seen that. So that is also a good thing. Now coming to the disadvantages. So since you are moving to a new country and you don't have any relatives or friends here, probably you will have to start a new social life. It will be a new start for you, and it might take some time to make new friends and have a social life. So that is something which is, I believe, is a disadvantage. The cost of living in the UK is rising, and probably over the next 2 3 years, I don't see it improving to a great extent. But over long run, maybe it can again come back to the previous level, and so that is something which you need to be aware of. Winters are very cold. So if you are in India, generally it is hot, and from Western India, from where I came, even in the winters, the temperature would not go below 18 20 degrees. So here winters are very cold. Sometimes there is snowfall. So just keep that in mind, and if you have some issues related to that, you need to consider this. Saturday Sundays are holidays, so it's a 5 days working week. For your sake it's good, but if you want to get small things done, it is difficult, because Saturday Sundays many shops are closed, many offices are closed. So that's something which is irritating. Back in India, I could get anything, and it wouldn't matter whether it was a Saturday or Sunday, or so that's something which you need to know, and mentally be prepared for it. There is no household or house help or maids easily available, and their charges are also quite steep. If you just see the charges, they are very steep, very high, and generally most of the people do their household work by themselves. So that is a new thing for me and my family, and I think if you are coming from India, where you can get easy and cheap help, probably that is something you need to be aware of. You don't get maids or house help very easily, and it's not very cheap either. We discussed that in the point of healthcare, that there is a slow response, so long waiting times for OPD and plant surgeries. So many, I have seen few people who fly back to India, get their elective surgery done, and come back to the UK. So that's also something which you should be knowing. For parents visa, for parents long term stay, this is difficult. For parents visa it's easy, but they can't get permission to stay for more than 6 months. If your parents have any medical emergency or any problem, it is difficult to get tickets in a short notice at a cheap rate, and you have to spend a big amount, and to go to India and come back, you have to take leave, and it's not as easy as it happens in India. So that is something which is, I feel, is a negative point from that point of view. The driving, so it is a left-hand drive like we have in India, which is a good thing. However, the driving rules are much stricter, and it's a completely new experience. So you have to pass the theory test, the practical test, which is little difficult, not so easy to get the clear the practical test. So that is something which is difficult. Although it is not impossible, most of the people clear it either in the first or second attempt, but that is difficult compared to India. So these are some disadvantages in my opinion. So I hope you have got some idea, you have got some insight about the thought process, about the factors to consider, about the advantages and disadvantages. If you have any more questions, please drop it in the comment box, and I will try to reply. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe my channel, and share it with your friends and colleagues who might be interested in this. Thank you so much. Have a good day.